You're watching In Focus Kentucky. On today's program, we're visiting with Jacqueline Coleman, the 58th Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky. And she's also the state's highest elected teacher and has been a vocal and passionate advocate for public education. And Lieutenant Governor, we'll continue our conversation with you. We'll talk with you about issues related to state government and legislature that's going on, a lot of education-focused bills that are being discussed. But I do want to ask you, I know back in December of last year, you released a statement that you made the decision to have a medical procedure after receiving results during a routine physical. And I know you cited at the time a significant family history of cancer. How has this journey been, dealing with it, but also being a public official, talking about it out loud in front of the Commonwealth and beyond?
Well, you know, it's certainly not something you sign up to do, but I think about all of the women I have heard from across Kentucky who have been through this and who sent me messages of hope and reassurance, and I will never forget that. It's a trying time, physically, mentally, emotionally, but it was the decision that I felt was best for me and my family. What you mentioned about my family history, breast cancer is significant enough that it put me in the high risk category. And so getting the news that I received from the doctors, I felt like it was the most responsible thing for me to do, to move ahead with a procedure, and had a double mastectomy and have recovered. I've been back in the office now for almost a month and getting back on my feet, and always mindful of not only what I've been through, but what so many women have been through, and remembering the wisdom that I have gained from this procedure and this process, and carrying it with me every single day.
We appreciate you sharing your personal story about that as well. And I know that you also had reminded Kentuckians about the importance of scheduling those preventative exams and not to put those things off. Tell us about that as well as a final reminder for people who are watching who may be having a similar experience of having a physical scheduled coming up soon, or maybe putting off things that they should get checked into.
Yes, so I will be the first to admit I am not the best person about going to the doctor when I need to, about making time for those things, and it's worth noting that all of these issues were found in my very first mammogram. And so to schedule these appointments, to hold to them and make sure that you're showing up and doing these things to be proactive, it is a lot easier to be proactive than it is to have been reactive. If I had put this off because of the campaign or because of whatever it was that we were going through, I don't know where I would be right now. And so I'm very fortunate to have, been proactive in this journey and to do the things that I felt like I needed to do for myself and my family. You want to be able to make those decisions for yourself, not to have someone else make those decisions for you because you've waited too long to do what you need to do. So schedule those procedures, and take care of yourself so you can take care of other people.
Some great advice for sure. And I want to transition now and talk about the General Assembly that's ongoing in Frankfort, 60-day legislative session. A lot of bills related to education have been filed this session. Some are considering bills related to curbing diversity, equity, and inclusion measures at schools and other organizations. What's your perspective on? I know there's multiple versions of bills related to the public education, but also higher education. What's your look at and view of some of the legislation that's being filed related to DEI in the state government?
Well, you know, I think you can look to other states, and when they roll back LGBTQ protections, when they roll back diversity, equity, inclusion measures, not only does it cost them in higher education and in K-12 education, it costs them in terms of their economy and job creation. I mean, when we are trying to recruit the best companies to Kentucky, what our legislature is telling them is your measures for diversity, equity, inclusion that make your business better are not welcome here. That's not the kind of message that we want to send as Team Kentucky to our kids, to businesses, to job creators across Kentucky. We want to make sure that we're creating a place that's welcoming to everyone and to all ideas and all walks of life, because that kind of diversity makes us better, both educationally and economically.
I also want to ask you too, there's been a bill that was filed just recently actually in the Senate, Senate Bill 167, that would Three Republican senators have filed it to require cursive writing to be included as a core study in all elementary schools starting in 2025, but also establish public high school graduation requirement where students would have to demonstrate the ability to sign his or her own name in cursive. Again, you've been in the education world for many years. What are your thoughts on that particular legislation?
I would say, I think it's probably the intent is reasonable here, but I would also say that we've got bigger fish to fry. We have kids who are couch surfers. We have kids in the foster care system. We have kids that go home hungry every day. Let's channel our collective energy into taking on the issues that are a big enough deal that hold our kids back from achieving their best potential. That's where we should all be collectively focused.
And we need to take our final break, but then we'll continue with more of In Focus Kentucky in a moment.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest news and weather updates every 10 minutes and more. We'll see you then.